Our next speaker this afternoon is Mickey Fulp. Mickey has 35 years of experience as an exploration geologist and analyst, searching for economic deposits of base and precious metals, industrial metals, coal, uranium, oil and gas, and water in North and South America, Europe, and Asia. Mickey has worked for junior explorers, major mining companies, private companies, and investors as a consulting economic geologist for over 20 years, specializing in geological mapping, property evaluation, and business development. In addition to his professional credentials and experience, Mickey is high altitude proficient and is bilingual in English and Spanish. From 2003 to 2006, he made 4 outcrop ore discoveries in Peru, Nevada, Chile, and British Columbia. Mickey is well known and highly respected throughout the mining and exploration community for his ongoing work as an analyst, writer, and speaker. I've been on numerous programs and events with Mickey. Please welcome Mickey Fulp, the mercenary geologist.
Thanks very much, Robert, and I'll start out by saying we're not going to talk about anything like that today. I am also a libertarian, and I'm going to talk about libertarianism and where that is going, and I'm going to talk about Big Brother. A libertarian can be defined as someone who wants the government to keep its nose out of his business and its hand out of his pocket. And I have been a libertarian. I think I told you very early on that since my earliest memories, I have been a libertarian and rebelled against authority. This is my usual disclaimer. Anything I say today can be not construed as financial advice. And I will talk about gold today. I am not a certified financial advisor, and I'm not telling you to go long or short anything. The top 10 reasons I know that Big Brother is watching me. I launched this business as an analyst and a newsletter writer in the heart of the financial crisis in 2008. And I did that because I saw the bottom coming. And as a contrarian in the stock market, what a better time to start when, like Obama, you have no track record. So I started at the bottom with no track record. I know Big Brother's watching me, but what about you? I'll tell you, I've written a series of essays over the course of 5 years, and I went through these essays, and I found my top 10 reasons why I know Big Brother's watching me. And it started in July 14th of 2008 in a piece I wrote called Hoarding. And it gave examples of things you should hoard when the economic collapse comes. But the gist of that was, as long as we have Bernanke's policy of keeping the U.S. banks from failing, and it was just the U.S. big banks then, collapsing by throwing money out of a helicopter, then you're losing 10% of your annual purchasing power by the devaluation of a fiat currency. At that time, people were telling you to invest in so-called safe investments. I did not buy that. That's probably the first thing that got the NSA or the government watching me. The second one, number 9 on my top 10 list, I wrote an essay called Socialistic Capitalism, and my research on that indicated that 53% of Americans get the majority of their income from a government check. Whatever happened, and I said this in this essay, whatever happened to an honest day's work for an honest day's pay? Well, where I live, we give those honest days' pay to mojados now. So we have increasingly created a lower class through immigrants that do the work that people in the United States are no longer willing to do. My number 8 point, my number 8 reason that the government is watching me, in August of 2008, and you will see these are very much these essays are concentrated around times of economic worry and panic and greed in the markets, called 100 Years of Morality, Amorality. And the gist of that one was the waterboard affair. If you remember when it was first revealed that we were waterboarding people at Guantanamo Bay. And I did some research and I learned that, well, we all know about the Spanish-American War, right? We invaded the Philippines in 1898, if memory serves, to free the Filipinos from Spanish rule. By 1902, we were fighting a rebellion in the Philippines because we had decided that we were going to keep the Philippines. We were going to keep the Filipinos under our rule, and they rebelled. And what did we do with them? We employed what Mark Twain at the time, and bear with me here while I read Mark Twain's quote, spoke out against the torturing of Filipinos by the awful water cure, to make them confess what? Truth or lies? For under unendurable pain, a man confesses anything that is required, true or false, and his evidence is worthless. So waterboarding's been going on for 100 years. I'm sure that got the attention of the NSA or the CIA or the FBI or whoever is watching us. My number 7 reason why I know Big Brother is watching me, in December 31st of 2008, in my business, the heart of the financial crisis was starting to abate. We were the canary in the coal mine. Our financial crisis in the mining business started in December of 2007. I started buying stocks willy-nilly on December 15th of 2008 because I thought something was going to turn. But at that time, I wrote an essay called An Old Day's Ending, A New Day's Beginning. And I'm of the age, I'm a rock and roll fan, and that is a play on words from a Jethro Tull song called It was a New Day Yesterday, but it's an old day today. And so that tells you you've got to keep thinking ahead. We cannot live in the past. You want to keep thinking ahead. And at that point, I wrote something, what is a fiat currency determined, designed, and destined to do? It's to keep the faithful middle-class serfs believing that they are getting ahead by accumulating more fiat dollars, when in actuality, their buying power is decreasing all the time. And my favorite author in the world is Mark Twain. And Mark Twain said, faith is believing what you know ain't so. And it's true. I have no belief. I have no faith. I follow that up with number 6 in March of 2009 in an essay called Dollars and Gold. And I said, if the world goes to hell in a handbasket, you better own physical gold. Rest assured, it will not be a pretty place. And you also probably ought to own a gun and know how to use it. So the idea is, if we are faced with financial collapse, you got to have gold. But you got to have guns too, because this is going to not be pretty. Number 5 of my top 10 reasons that I know Big Brother is watching me came from an essay in July 13, 2009. 365 days later from when I wrote my first essay on hoarding. And I learned a bunch of stuff. For instance, I learned that if you store a bunch of nuts, and I like nuts. I like cashews, I like pecans, I like almonds, I like walnuts. I like peanuts, I like nuts, and they're a really good source of food. But you better not keep them in plastic bags because the weevils can get in plastic bags. So you got to put them in plastic jars and put them in a safe place and keep them cool. So this essay was about a lot of stuff I learned. I also learned that I'd forgotten to buy basic toiletries, like toothpaste, and I wear contact lenses. So I learned these things. So if you're hoarding and you're preparing for some sort of economic period, which we don't know how long it will, when the world's economy is not functioning right, you want to stash up on a bunch of this stuff. But the thing I think I wrote then that probably caught the attention of the authorities, as I said, and this is pertinent today, folks. Currently, it is difficult, if not impossible, to buy 223, 308, 380, 9mm, and 45 ammunition. In other words, assault rifle ammunition and semi-automatic weapons. At that time, and I don't know now, a 22 long rifle, I should say, cost 7 cents. And I was bitching about the exorbitant price of 22 shells. I've been told that you can't find 22 bullets at Walmart right now. I don't know if that's true because I have a stash of 22s. You know, what do you do with 22s? Well, I raise free-range domesticated rabbits. I have a small hobby farm that allows me some sort of self-sufficiency in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And how do I kill my rabbits? Well, I can either try to trap them or I can feed them every morning and catch one and chop him over the back of the head. But it's a damn lot easier to come out with my 22 and shoot a rabbit. Now I shoot them with 22 shorts because, if you know, a 22 can go a long ways. But the point being at that time is American shooters who can't practice won't shoot straight. And the question I asked then was, is that what the black shirts, in parentheses, no longer the brown shirts, are banking on? So what's happening now? Somebody talked about the I think Kerry talked about the shortage of ammunition early today, and he kind of I think poo-pooed the idea that it's the Homeland Security that's buying up all the ammunition. I've seen evidence. Now, it's on the internet, and of course we all know everything you read on the internet is gospel, and we have to believe it. But I saw a report the other day. It was either on CNN or Fox News, probably Fox News, that in the federal budget there is, for the next 5 years for Homeland Security, 1.6 billion rounds of ammunition budgeted with our tax dollars. 1.6 billion rounds, of which 80% is supposedly going to be used for practice. Well, how can I practice? I can't find 223 ammunition now, let alone 22s. Who knows about 22s? Anyway, so that got their attention. And I think this was the coup de grace, though, that really got them on my radars, got me on their radar screen. In October of '09, I had one called America's 8 Unwinnable Wars. And I start out with a quote, and I'll read that quote, by ex-Major General Smedley Darlington Butler, one of 19 two-time Medal of Honor winners, reform warrior, self-described reform warrior and pacifist. He said, there are only 2 things we should fight for. One is the defense of our houses, and the other is the Bill of Rights. So what have we done since 1961? We have John Fitzgerald Kennedy's Vietnam War. We lost that one. We have Lyndon Baines Johnson's War on Poverty. Well, we know what happened there. We're still supposedly fighting that. Here's the greatest boondoggle of all. We got 2 million people in prisons in the United States, the majority of those for drug crimes. Richard Milhouse Nixon's war on drugs. George H.W. Bush's Gulf War. We could have won that war, but Powell pulled Schwarzkopf off and we didn't go into Baghdad. And that came back to haunt us. We have William Jefferson's Clinton's war on terror. George Bush didn't start that. Go back and look. Clinton's the one that first coined the term the war on terror. The ever-ending, non-ending war, the perpetual war. George Walker Bush's war in Afghanistan. George Walker Bush, he's the only one to make this list twice. The second war on Iraq, which was fought because we didn't finish Saddam Hussein off the first time. And at the time I wrote, and I've since revised that, Barack Hussein Obama's the second war on capitalism. And I would change that now. I heard a couple of chuckles there. But I might call that the war on the Bill of Rights. I told you I'm not a believer. I have no faith in belief. But someone in a position of authority, since I can first remember, has told me to believe in something, whether it was Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy. Jonah got swallowed by a whale and spit out whole and lived to tell about it, lived to tell God about it. The Russians are coming. We are winning the war. Gold is going to 4,000. That didn't happen, did it? And I might add, silver going to 100? I don't know, folks. And finally, the banks are too big to fail. So someone's been lying to me all the time, trying to get me to believe. I'm a non-believer. I refuse to use the word except when I'm disparaging the word. In his Nobel Peace Prize speech, Obama II said war 28 times. He said peace 14 times. In his Peace Prize speech, he said war twice as many times as he said peace. Reminds me of Orwell, 1984, one of my favorite books. I read it a couple of months ago, probably for the 4th time in my life. The first slogan of the party displayed in the white facade of the Ministry of Truth. Anybody remember what that said? In big, bold, capital letters, war is peace. That's where we're at today, folks. The latest, or the second one, I got on a roll here lately, April 15th, tax day. I said, if you keep your money with the banksters, they are LOL. And that's your fiat currency. Lord Byron said in 1813, oh God, let me start that again. O gold, I still prefer thee unto paper, which makes bad credit look like bark of vapor. So this idea about gold goes way back, folks. The U.S. government has defaulted on the U.S. dollar twice in my parents' lifetime. My parents are in their mid-80s now. First time, 1932, they devalued the price of gold they devalued the dollar from $20.67 for an ounce of gold to $35. Now, whether you call that a devaluation or I prefer it to call a default. In 1971, Nixon defaulted on our obligations, defaulted on the price of gold at $35, and we saw what happened. In 4 years, it was $175. Do you think they're not going to default again? Don't let the banksters have their last laugh on you. Buy more gold and buy some mattresses. And the latest one, the correction of gold. Gold is a traded commodity. Now it's bastardized by futures, options, and derivatives, but it's all about supply and demand. Here's an example, or an analogy, let's say. Obama's homeland is Chicago. where all guns must be registered. Illinois is the only state in the union where there is not a concealed carry permit process, yet Chicago led the United States in murders in 2012. How do we mitigate all this stuff? Well, what about you? If you're sitting here, you're in Dallas today, attending the Liberty MasterMind Symposium, Big Brother's watching you. How can we mitigate this? Own gold, guns, gas, and goods, hoard food and water, support a viable libertarian movement, become self-sufficient if you can, and be prepared. Possess physical gold. Don't live in a USA constitutional free zone. 100 miles from the border, you have no constitutional rights now. So you must live in the heartland. And try to embrace self-sufficiency. Whatever you do, try to become self-sufficient. But more importantly, you need to be prepared. You know, we're 29 years past Orwell, what he predicted. So all I'm hoping is that everybody here prepare for yours and your own before it becomes Animal Farm. Thank you.
Mickey Fulp, the mercenary geologist. Thank you, Mickey.
Thank you.